I was shocked.
I mean, everybody was. But they start at 8 o'clock, right?
Right.
So the Yankees are like 9:30.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, the resistance
I gotta tell that to my father-in-law.
Updates, right?
Right, exactly.
Anyway, welcome back.
They say it's bringing a tremendous amount of revenue into the city.
What's that?
The revenue drain
Oh, I can't
in
imagine.
the city is unbelievable. They said it's like hotels, restaurants.
What about 75
Right.
people? I was disappointed,
Right.
but it is what it is. Yeah,
Hi, Fred.
no, there's a lot of competing things.
All right, thank you.
A lot of, at least that's what people saw. Right.
Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, May 27th. I apologize for the late start. We just came from executive session where we discussed many things, including SRO agreement, board and commission committee vacancies, and potential acquisition of property. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing. We're gonna do the public hearing first, then we'll take a few things out of order. But I know there are some people here for the public hearing. So the first item on our agenda is a public hearing on a proposed local law amending Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of the Village Code concerning seasonal leaf blower restrictions. So can I have a motion and second, please, to open the public hearing?
So moved?
Second?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Maybe Chris, a little background on the
Sure.
legislation, and then we'll welcome any public comment.
Yes. Back in April of 2023, the village board established a local law that put a seasonal leaf blower ban in the village, established that from May 1st through October 30th of each year for all properties under 5 acres, and for properties over 5 acres, they can apply for an exemption or extension. But this really, the focus here has to do with a different portion of the local law that requires warnings be issued prior to tickets being issued. And the police have advised us that they would prefer that the discretion be left up to the police officers because there's not currently a effective way of tracking when they're in the field and doing patrol. So there's not really a good way to know whether or not a warning's been issued on a particular property, when they're out there making those decisions. So, just like when there's other enforcement, the police officers have to make decisions in the field. They tend to, it's a small community, they tend to know repeat violators when they're coming in. And that's, the idea here is to get everyone in compliance, hopefully give warnings, and then if they don't follow the warnings, then the tickets should be issued. The problem comes into play, again, about whether or not a warning's been issued, and since it's in the code, we have to then prove, if it goes to court or somebody challenges, that a warning has been issued on a particular property. So it just makes it more cumbersome, and the police is asking for more flexibility in their enforcement procedures.
Thank you, Chris. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this? Okay. I stand corrected. Any comments from the board? Trustee Heiser.
I am against this. I think warnings are essential. I can't believe that the police cannot keep track of warnings. I mean, we live in a computer age. It's very difficult for me to believe that the police cannot keep track of warnings, because otherwise what you're saying is if police officer A gives a warning to somebody and the next day police officer B goes to that property, how will B know that A gave a warning if we don't have some sort of system? Otherwise, you could get virtually unlimited warnings.
Right, and I think the intention of this is to remove the warning.
Right.
from the code.
from the code.
Not that they wouldn't issue a warning, it's just that the warning wouldn't be code required.
And so they could theoretically skip the warning and just give a summons right away?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure if I were a property owner. You see, to me, speeding is something that's intuitive. We all know when we get a driver's license, thou shalt not speed. I don't think all our residents fully understand what the code is vis-a-vis gas leaf blowers. And so then what you're going to do is, depending upon how smooth a talker you're dealing with, you can convince the police officer, oh, I had no idea that I couldn't do this. And so I don't understand what the problem is about giving a warning. I can't fathom this.
Maybe Chief
Yeah,
Dengler could come up
Yeah,
and
Chief
kind of talk this
Dengler,
out a
would
little
you
bit.
mind?
If you don't mind, just bring the mic over, so thank you.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
All right, so with our current records management system, there is no tab for warnings issued for various violations. Maybe in the future with a new one there might be, but in order for people to actually know, they'd have to communicate with people that were here prior in the week and continuously update it.
But in that case, if you don't give a warning, how will they ever know that somebody has already used their discretion not to give a summons?
You wouldn't.
I'm just, unless the same police officer is constantly patrolling the same property all the time.
Right.
But if there's any deviation from that, the second police officer who might be passing by,
Could just issue a summons and call it a day.
and if I were the property owner, I'd go, well, what happened to discretion? I mean, I'd be arguing about discretion all the
Go
time.
down to the Rytown court and state your case with the judge.
As an
like
attorney,
everyone
I
else.
love the idea of discretion if I were defending somebody,
Right.
because you can almost always argue abuse. I really like the idea of, no, you get a warning if you do this.
Well, I don't think there's an issue with issuing a warning, it's just tracking it. And if it's removed from the code, that still gives you the flexibility. You can still issue them a warning and use your discretion.
And if you give a warning and it can't be tracked, what is the meaning of it then?
The certain officer that day just decided that it wasn't,
So,
it wasn't plausible to give a summons because of the explanation that they got from
Why-
the resident.
as a quick question, why wouldn't we have the ability to track warnings? Why don't we?
It's not built into the system.
Electronically, but paper-wise, I'm sure we could.
When you say this, Mayor,
The current RMS system.
so when you say the system, you're talking about the system that
Impact.
the officers are accessing in the field?
Correct, like where we
Wanna
record all
clarify.
of our reports.
Oh, so that not the ability necessarily to see it at the station, but
Has
then
to pull up a
necessarily
report
to
of
pull up a
How
report
many
in the
warnings
field.
were issued for the week? There's no way to track it currently.
So Mayor, to follow up?
Please, Chris.
So in the absence of not having that in the system, what have the officers been doing since when the law's been in effect? What,
Trying to give guys the heads up, hey, certain properties have been warned, others haven't, try
verbal or?
verbally.
Okay.
Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Crum?
I see Trustee Heiser's point. If it was just the landscapers, I would feel differently, I think. The landscapers are definitely well aware of the law.
True.
I would also say in support of not having a warning that most municipalities only have a warning for the first few months of the new law. Once it's well publicized. I do have mixed feelings also without the paper helping us get the word out. We've seen some of our events with less attendance recently because I'm just guessing the paper's not out there helping us get the word out to some of these things. So
Could be.
again, the landscapers, I don't think need warning anymore. They're well aware. The residents, though, one thing that might, can I continue with another
Please.
comment? One thing that might sort of kill two birds with one stone, could we have a tiered, the way it is now, the penalty is up to $250. period, end of discussion. A lot of municipalities have a tiered system to help sort of underline the importance of it, and it starts low and it ratchets up. Could we have a very, very low initial one? If we had no warning and had a very, very low initial dollar amount, it would almost be like a warning, but it would be trackable, obviously, if we had a $25 thing.
Summons was written, yes.
And then it would be like 25, 150, 300 or something like that. And,
You know, the board would have to redo the fee schedule in regards to it, but
But can I clarify one item?
Yeah.
So if you have, when a police officer issues a ticket, they're either going to pay it or they have to go to court.
Right.
They have to go to fight it and go to court. The issue here is if it's in a fee schedule, it doesn't go to court. Because the court, when it goes to court, it's the judge's discretion, I guess, to say you have to pay the fine or don't have to pay a fine. But when it's in a fee schedule, that means they have to come to us and they have to, there's not a hook to make sure that it gets paid, in other words.
would that also fall on the village prosecutor?
Because, yeah, so you'd have to do that, and then if they don't pay it, I guess, bring them to court at that point. But it's not something that we would be able to, like, when you do work without a permit, for instance, that permit, you can't clean up the permit until you pay the fine for the work without a permit
You have
or a stop
something-
work order. So that's your hook, you can't move ahead unless you pay it. Here, if it's not paid, we'd have to determine, what would be the way that you would have to enforce it then, if they don't pay the fine.
Valid question.
Yeah.
well, what I'm saying, the statute now, as I understand it, the leaf blower thing refers back to the noise ordinance. The noise ordinance has a paragraph on fines and imprisonment, frankly.
Yeah.
And it says the fine is up to $250.
Which is standard for court, yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm just changing the schedule. Does that mean that all of a sudden it's different? They don't have to go to court, or?
They would,
We still have to go.
yeah, you wouldn't go to
Have
court,
to go
huh?
You would still have to go to
court.
fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's paid to the
Unless you
village,
pay
in which
for it.
case there's no hook to make sure
Right.
it gets paid.
I guess I'm not
So
following. Yeah.
I think what's trying to be said, and I guess just as a question that might clarify things, if we were to define the fees, would that make it exempt from going to court? I mean, can you not define fees? Can you not define the fines
No, of course you
for
can.
something that's going?
Yeah, that's what
There's plenty of
I
different
think
items.
I think
that
that
are- have
they're
to
having
find
this
fines.
discussion at the end here.
is,
Okay.
we believe you can do it in the local law. It would have to be by local law. Just realize, in order to update it, you would have to modify the law anytime you change those fees. So it is an option. You would have to list it, and then the police officers would go send it to court, and the court would then, either going to pay it or they're going to have to go to court to challenge it. But the fees would be identified in your local law, which is only established after a public hearing. So it's different it operates different than the fee schedule. It's not something like you'd look at the schedule every year and said we should modify it. If you want to modify it, you have to hold a new public hearing and have a new local law drafted. Just trying to clarify.
Well, right now is all it says is the fine is up to $250.
And that's
And
the
that would
standard
be determined by the
language.
courts.
I'm just trying to go to Trustee Heiser's issue of, I didn't know, we can't, evidently, the way our software works now, we have trouble with warnings. And I'm trying to sort of figure out a way to ease the pain. Well, you should have known, it's been on the books. This law is 2 years old now, by the way, right? You should have known, it's been a law for 2 years or whatever the number of months it's been. But this is your first time, it's only $50 this time. But obviously that's not enough to maybe deter someone that really wants to abuse the
They
law.
have multiple, then if you get the multiple, all right, I'm curious, yeah, Trustee Epstein.
Are we fining the homeowner or the
That's my question.
landscaper?
Either one can be.
Either one or both?
Either one or both.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why it's a bit tricky.
It is tricky because I can tell I've shared with my landscaper what he should be using.
Right. I do
But
too.
if he shows up and you're
And
not
I'm even
home,
there, I can't say, now turn that off. So I guess that is my next question.
right,
I mean, ultimately, they're gonna charge the homeowner if they have to pay a fine. On the other hand, have we sent out I've asked this, I think, before. Have we sent out notices to the landscaping community?
Yes,
All
and they were, if you remember, they were
the
involved
bigger
when we were
ones. There are a lot
drafting
of other
this.
small guys
And-
too.
Yeah, and but I
There's
mean, like Trustee Crum said, I mean, it's been 2 years that this has been in effect. I think, maybe this brings up another point that maybe at our Rybrook birthday celebration, we may want to have, whether it be the sustainability committee or whether it be staff, maybe have some information on this. Just to make sure it's reaching another group of people. Just saying, especially if we're considering changing this. Now, I would say, for purpose of this resolution that we have in front of us, I think if we were to create this fee, I'm not sure I would want to do this, right now. Although I guess we could.
No, if you're modifying the local law, adding fees,
We would have to
you would have to
have a
adjourn the,
separate hearing,
no, you'd have to adjourn the public hearing,
renotice it.
renotice, no, you don't have to renotice it because you're modifying the local law. You just have to modify the local law, has to be in place for 10 days
Okay.
before you can act on it, because that's a substantial change.
Okay, so I see kind of two options, three options really. One is that we don't approve this resolution, or we say that we're not going to approve this resolution. We go back to the drawing board and think of something else. Another would be to approve this resolution for now, removing the warning, making it easier for the police to enforce without having this official warning. And I think part of the not having the official warning is that it's without actually handing them out, it's tougher to defend in court, correct?
Well, because it requires a warning,
Right.
so you'd have to prove
So
it.
we'd have to prove it. We'd have to prove the warning. So we could potentially pass this for now, but make it our intent to then, at the next meeting, the meeting after, make some changes. But if this is the will of the board.
Once again, my feeling is that if we are serious about gas leaf blowers, if we are, it seems to me that we should be able to warn people, these are the consequences of your continued use of a gas leaf blower in a season when you're not supposed to do it.
Right.
And I think a warning, it should not be up to the police officer to say, well, I understand that this person didn't know. No, it's, excuse me, the law's been on the books for 2 years, your landscaper should have known, and you can't get away with this anymore. It's a warning. The next time this happens, the following things occur in terms of fines. And I like the idea of a warning because it puts the person on notice as to what the consequences are of future misbehavior.
Back to the drawing board.
Trust me, I know what do you
I
think?
think we go back to the drawing board and rethink it all again. Maybe a warning. I don't know.
Again, the
Is
fourth
there-
option, Mayor, the
Yeah.
fourth option is, I don't think you said that, which is simply not acting on it, direct the staff and council to redraft a local law that would put it into the code, so that it would have to be approved by a local law, so that with the fees specifically in the code, you can consider it and look at it that way. Maybe the first one is not a warning, but a
Right.
very de minimis fine or something.
Right, and I think,
For tracking purposes.
I-
Right, that's how you track
The
it.
sense I'm getting from the board right now is that I don't think there is a will to necessarily vote in favor of this currently. Am I
Right.
reading that wrong?
No.
Could have figured me out.
Needs a little more work, perhaps.
Okay, but if you're,
So we're going to.
either to
so
adjourn the
we're gonna
public hearing
adjourn
or
the public
just
hearing.
close the public hearing and
We're
don't
gonna
act.
adjourn the public hearing.
Okay.
We're not going to take action on the resolution. I'd like for us to explore the option of de minimis fine on the first one, but also look into whether there's a way to track warnings.
Well,
Whether there's a way
Oh,
that we
oh, okay.
can.
before we make that decision.
Right, because the local law as it reads right now allows it to be, where you get a written warning on the first offense.
Right.
And if we can find a way that we can track
Track the
that
warning.
and prove that, then it may solve this issue.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you should adjourn it to a date specific. Otherwise, you have
Let's
to
go
renotice.
let's not the next meeting, let's go 2 meetings out.
Okay.
Yep.
So the second meeting in June.
should have a motion in a second.
Yeah, so can I have a motion and second to
Motion.
adjourn this to the second meeting in June?
As amended, second.
Now, it doesn't mean that we we may end up right back where we are after we look at things and see where they stand, and what other possibilities may be. But I think this board isn't ready to act on this.
Nope. Fair enough.
Just for the record, it's June 24th.
Okay.
Thank you.
But Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Crom,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Thank you. All right, resolution number 2, which is going to be resolution number 1, I guess. Considering authorizing insurance carrier for the Village of Rybrook.
Whereas after comparing details of the coverages, the village's risk manager, R.J. Impastato of FOA and Son Corp., and the village administrator recommend the village board select travelers insurance for property liability, law enforcement liability, umbrella, auto, public officials, and crime coverage at a total estimated annual premium of $314,272. And whereas the village's risk manager and administrator recommend that Cowbell National Specialty Insurance Company provide cyber insurance coverage at a total estimated annual premium of $4,697. Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Travelers as the village's insurance company for property liability, law enforcement umbrella, auto, public officials, crime, and cyber insurance insurance coverages, and Cowbell National Specialty Insurance Company for cyber insurance coverage. Be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are hereby authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Second.
All right, Chris, a little background.
Sure. And R.J. Impastato is here, and he's able to, from Foe and Sons, he can go over the process of the renewals. And again, there he is our broker at this point and of record. And you should, if you want, he can come up here and summarize the increases and the types of coverage that we have.
Eric is definitely taller than I am. Good evening, Mayor, the board. Thank you for having us. My name is R.J. Impastato. To my right is Michael Goldman, my colleague. We are, as the village administrator meant, we are the village insurance broker. Proud to be that. We are specialize in insuring municipalities in Westchester. Just to name a few, not to waste the village's time. Village of Bronxville, Village of Scarsdale, Town of North Castle, Town of Newcastle, Town of North Salem, many others. So this is what we do. I've been insuring municipalities for 22 years now. As the village administrator mentioned, there's actually 3 policies that come up for renewal on June 1. Insurance policies are 1 year in length, so it's from June 1 to June 1. The first policy is the package insurance policy. They call it a package because it has many different coverages inside this one policy, including property insurance, automobile insurance, general liability insurance, public officials insurance, employment practice insurance, and law enforcement, to name the key ones. The particular policy is currently with Travelers. The prior broker to us had actually submitted this for quotation to 2 other insurance companies, National Union and Munich Insurance Company, both reputable insurance companies that are A+, I see a nod over there, an A+ rated company, so they're financially very stable. They've been around for many years. They were not able to be competitive to the village's current policy. Specifically, the village carries $10 million in umbrella limits, and these 2 other insurance companies could only provide 5. So they were not going to be as competitive. We were able to make changes with the travelers. So the original quote that the travelers had for this policy for the renewal was $321,000. The actual after the changes dropped by $8,000 to $313,802 plus tax. Any questions on this coverage? Excellent. The other two policies is coming up. One is cyber insurance, and Mike Goldman, my colleague, specializes in this, so he was going to speak to it.
So the cyber insurance, we had originally got a quote for it from Cowbell Insurance, the incumbent insurance company, so the same one that the village had last year. The original quote came in at $5,218. That's including the tax, and we were successfully able to renegotiate the quote for $4,697. And in addition to this, we were able to secure increased social engineering and reverse social engineering. These previously last year were at $100,000 limits, and we were able to get them increased this year to $250,000. Additionally, we were also able to add computer hardware replacement coverage. Last year it was at $50,000. This year it was increased to $100,000, and then an additional breach response coverage was also added for $50,000. So this is additional breach response coverage. This is an extra $50,000 in coverage that would work in, separately from the aggregate limit for the liability coverage.
Not cyber insurance.
That's cyber, yeah.
And other than that, the rest of the coverages all remain the same as last year. The deductibles the same as well. So that's it for the cyber.
Any questions on cyber insurance? Excellent. The last coverage, which is coming up, is the smallest of the premiums. The village maintains student accident, also for the recreation, for those who participate in the recreation programs of the village. If they did get hurt, they'd be able to have supplementary medical insurance to whatever the parents or guardians' regular health insurance. The expiring premium was $1,045 for the whole year. We were able to reduce it to $915 for the whole year. And that's the three coverages. Yes?
I do have a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
What is social engineering coverage? I'm not familiar with cyber to a great degree, but
Sure.
I have no idea what that is at all.
Yeah, it's the insurance industry did a horrible job naming it. If I could rename it, I'd call it trickery insurance. It's where a municipality gets tricked into giving money to a bad actor. So we had a village in Westchester. They had received the finance department had received a letter on a contractor's letterhead. It said, "Hi, you know me. We've been doing work. I've changed my bank account." And it was on the letterhead of the contractor. They knew who I was right in town. And a couple of days later, the same finance department got a phone call. "Hi, I'm from blah, blah, blah Contracting. Did you get my letter? I'd like you to pay the bill on the correct bank account." And they thanked him, saying, "Thank you. We know it's not a fraud since you called us, and we already got your letter, so we'll be sure to give you the correct amount to your correct bank account." And they paid $75,000, and a week later, a contractor called up and says, "Where's my money?" He said, "Well, we sent it to your new bank account number." And they said, "What do you mean? We don't have a new bank." So it's ways of tricking. We had another municipality, not to bore you to death, sorry, but this is a good one. We had a finance department got a email from the mayor, and it says, "We've been sued, and our new law firm is asking for a retainer." I think it was 20 grand. It was not a berserk amount of money. Please go ahead and send the money to this direct deposit. So it was clear it was on the mayor's email, and they did it. Mayor came in the following day. Finance says, "We made sure to get that retainer to the company," and mayor says, "I never sent an email." and it turns out somebody had hacked in to the village's system and sent an email as if it was the mayor to the finance department, and finance didn't go ahead and question the mayor, and they released 20 grand.
Well,
I'd
that
like
was
to
their
move that
first.
The mayor has no such authority.
I was gonna say, and their first problem was listening to the mayor.
So it's really trickery insurance.
So I understand.
It's
Thank you so much.
voluntarily.
And reverses, I mean,
Reverse actually may have. I've got one recently. I got a text apparently from the New York State Department of DMV.
A lot of those were going
Thank you.
around.
I've
a
now
lot of
apparently I have unpaid tickets. I must quickly call and/or give money to have this paid and not to be. So they actually go ahead and get the innocent victim to reach out to them, and that's called reverse social engineering.
so scams.
And,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's a good point for any of our residents listening to this. Be aware of anything, any email, any text that you're getting. These are the complicated and very well thought out, very, tech savvy scams that are hitting everyone everywhere. All right. Any other questions on the insurance renewals? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think we have a motion second on the resolution. All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Crom? Yeah. Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 3, considering the appointment of a motor equipment operator.
Now therefore be it resolved that Michael D. Crescenzo of 87 Avon Circle, Apartment B, is hereby appointed to the position of motor equipment operator with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the result of subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York and in accordance with the offer letter dated May 15th, 2025, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $103,055 with an effective start date of June 1st, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Paul, Michael Nowak, anyone want to come up? And I know, but maybe you wanted to say a nice word about him first, Paul. I know you love to speak in public.
So good evening, members of the board. I welcome our new MEO, Mr. DiCrescenzo. I want to say thank you for this opportunity. He's been with the village for over 20 years, I believe.
22
years.
next month, I
22
believe.
years
Right?
next month. He has done a great job in the village, whether it's helping out in the Parks Department, helping our new staff, handling our catch basin, the program, being out there during snowstorms. Mike has been there. And he's been a great asset to the village, and I'm glad to have him on board, and I thank you all for this opportunity for him to move up in the next line of command. So I welcome you to MEO, Mike.
Just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to spending the rest of my career as an MEO. Appreciate it. Oh, I got to take a picture with this guy?
I think so we need Paul there too.
Hop up here, Paul.
Paul, get in the
Come on.
picture. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
I'm not going to adjourn the meeting until you get up.
Really?
I'll come.
All right.
All right. I'll come and do it. Hold on.
Get the mayor in here.
Greg wants a picture of me. I'm not shy.
Hop in the middle.
In the Parks Department, and now he's in.
Get in there. Get in there.
It's
You guys want pictures with me?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
get lost.
Although he's leaving, and we congratulated him. We haven't
Voted
voted
yet.
yet.
No, we haven't voted yet.
No, and we truly appreciate everything you've done for the village. It's great when we're able to present these opportunities. I think this is very well deserved. And you've clearly proven yourself. You're supervisors think very highly of you, as does the rest of the village. So thank you for everything you've done and will continue to do.
Mayor, if I could just say, we said it before, but I think next month is going to be 22 years for Mike, so he really has done a great job. He steps up to the plate when there's hard work to be done. He's always there, ready and willing to be able to jump onto those jobs and be part of the team. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Okay, great.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you.
Now you can leave.
Now it's official. All right, resolution. What are we doing?
Liz, the
Oh, which is this?
10.1.
Okay, thank you.
That's a quick one, I think.
All right, so we're also going to move one other item up on the agenda, which is a discussion item, which is involving the AJP Senior Center transportation fee policy.
So, Mayor, this is something that the board asked us to put on for a discussion item. It's a continuing discussion that was started during the budget work sessions. And at that point in time, the board did approve in the budget process the increase in transportation fees, which is the amount that the members pay towards transportation going on the bus. The board did approve in the license and fee schedule adding $2 for members for when there's local trips, but not any other fees involved. Like they're not all going to stay local, going on local trips to local facilities, but not like an application or tickets or anything like that. And it went from $2 to $4, and then from $4 to $6, the same thing for non-members. But there was also discussion about whether or not there should be an increase in fees for when there's not other fees involved, and Liz Roadfeld could speak to that.
Hi, everyone. So after the budget meeting, I did a lot of thinking, and in the past, I wasn't in favor of that increase, but I am now. As you might know, there's two different types of trips we go on. There's some trips that there's really no need for a fee, but we were charging them $2 just to have a fee. It's a shopping trip or a luncheon or something where we take them someplace, but they actually pay when they get there. Then we have another type of trip which has a fee attached to it, like museums, Broadway shows, like the Circle Line, things like that. We have a lot of those types of trips. And at the time, the thought process was because those trips are kind of expensive, Broadway shows are very expensive now, we weren't charging an additional $2. But since then, I have had a change of heart because we do pay tolls for these trips. Some of them are 2 hours away. So, we have two different pots of money. We have the senior account and we have the general fund account. Currently, the $2 fees that we were collecting, that goes automatically to the general account. But at the budget meeting, I believe someone had mentioned it doesn't matter where it goes as long as we're collecting it. So I would like to collect that extra $2 per trip, keep that in my senior account because I pay the toll bills from that account if everyone's amenable to that.
So basically, the request now is to modify the fee schedule to add in an additional $2 fee per member to go on the longer trips that typically have tolls and other accounts. And when Liz says there's two different accounts, they're both village accounts that are audited by our auditors, everything else. So just want to give any sense that there's not. There's just one goes back to general fund revenue, and the other is really for stays with the seniors program. And that's the one that goes with our not-for-profit agency there. And they basically, when there's things like tolls and everything else, Liz would pay the tolls out of that account.
Right. And we have come a long way. I mean, there was a time when we collected fees for yoga and Tai Chi, and it sat in our seniors account. And then we devised a way to separate it out, and that money goes right back to the village. So I'm actually, I've been making some revenue for the past several years, which we didn't do before I got here. So.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? Yeah, Trustee Epstein.
So I have a question. So now for local trips, we're collecting 4 from for
Re-
everybody
mo-
and 6 for non-members.
Members, mostly members attend our trips. We try to get them to join.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. And then
Yes.
you're saying if they go to a museum, et cetera, you want to have an extra $2, so it would be 6 and 8?
Right, well, no, for example, if it's $33 for the Circle Line, we would charge the seniors $35.
There's
Would just be the
Non-residents are not going on those trips.
Right, I
They
understand.
can't, I mean, not non-residents, non-members. You have to be a dues-paying member to attend our trips.
And I think what
So it wouldn't be an
Trustee
option.
I think what Trustee Epstein is getting at, correct me if I'm wrong, is that so it seems strange that for a local trip it would be more expensive for the busing than for a farther trip.
Right, we brought this up during the fee schedule, and I said the wear and tear on the vehicle, the gas, and the toll are actually, I understand that they are paying for the museum, the Broadway Circle Line, but that is a benefit that is being derived. I think that the transportation is still being offered and therefore shouldn't be at a lesser rate.
I'm confused. We're adding to all of those.
Right, no, but perhaps the fee should be the same for $4 and
4 or 6 for members and non-members, regardless.
Okay. I mean, I suppose we can do that.
It's another $2. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for some people, a $4 trip is going to be difficult because
They're only going to-
we sell our trips 3 months at a time. I mean, I have my schedule here. They all want to sign up for everything, and if they don't sign up, they don't get on, and you have to pay when you sign up. So,
Well, they could.
We
you
already
can-
raised
you
it
can collect
halfway,
the
you know.
parking fee, or not the parking, you can pay those fees, wouldn't you, when they're going? In other words, you could separate it out if it's a hardship. You could still collect it, but it doesn't have to be that day.
They'll have to be audited.
no, they have to
Oh.
pay.
Oh.
No, we have to. We're trying to really stick with people signing up and paying because it's been the nicer you are,
Oh, you get it. Well, I actually don't think it should be that much of a horror, because if they're paying for a local trip, this is, as I said, the wear and tear on
Right.
the vehicle, the gas and the tolls, et cetera, that actually adds up to much more than a local trip.
As a quick question, with the local trips, I'm assuming it's typically
They're
just
not all
one or two
local.
people at a time.
Let me explain. So we really shouldn't say local. We should just say trips that don't have a fee. For example, if they go to Uncle Giuseppe's, that's in Yorktown. That's a 45-minute ride, and they were paying $2 to go there. Now they'll be paying $4 times 20.
We're not getting any. They're not getting any tickets for it. You're talking about
No.
the things that they're paying to do. So I mean, someone could go to Uncle Giuseppe's and spend $5. Someone else could go to Uncle Giuseppe's and spend $100.
Right, right. Some of them just like to go to get out of the house and they have lunch as well on their own, They'll do some
Right.
shopping and they'll go to a diner and they'll have lunch.
But if
It's a
you're-
social thing for them.
Right, if you're going to Circle Line, if you're going to
Broadway show.
the Broadway show, you're paying the fee already.
You're paying the fee.
But that fee that
Plus-
you're paying is, yeah, I think.
Most
well,
Broadway
I'm
shows
curious
are,
where everyone else stands on this.
I want to know what Uncle Giuseppe's is.
it's like, they say it's like Arthur Avenue indoors, but it can't touch Arthur Avenue in my opinion.
She also goes to Cold Spring Harbor. She does a lot of great trips.
Right. So,
No.
curious thoughts from other board members? Trustee Crum?
No, it makes sense to pay same for a big trip. I mean, at least the same for a big trip as a small trip.
Trustee
Or, it sounds like if you blended what you're saying the non-fee trips are, I'm inferring that they're not longer than most of the ones that there is a fee for, correct? Most of the fee trips are in the city, it sounds like.
They're all over. I mean, we could go to Greenwich to a museum that might cost $6, so we would add $2 now. I didn't want to.
My sense is to have the same fee for both. That's, if you want my opinion.
So Liz, are you defining a long trip as one that incurs a fee once you get there, as opposed to a short
No.
trip where you
There's.
basically-
I would say we have two types of trips: trips that don't have a fee,
Okay.
and trips that do have a fee. So museums, boat trips, exhibits, Broadway shows, dinner theaters, things like that.
so it has nothing to do with the distance.
Not
from the
really.
AV.
Right, it has to do
Not
with
really.
whether
That's
there's
why
a-
I was
a fee
thinking
charge.
just $2,
No, I understand now.
you know.
Flat rate done.
Trustee Morlino?
I agree with Liz.
Because again, we're not separating them. It's the way our finance system is. It's called My Senior Center. There's really no way to. I mean, I brought these with you, but you can pass these down. This gives you an idea of. We devised this deposit form so that we can easily pull out the general fund fees, because I transfer them to Trish, every few months. I go through all my deposits and I pull out the general fund fees. So it would be the non-resident lunches, it would be the $2 trip, it would be the paint night, the yoga, and the Tai Chi classes. And I pull them out, and that's how I know how much to give Trish to be transferred from the senior account to the general fund account.
Okay.
Now, that's something we weren't doing for many years.
Right. And I would just ask if anyone's commenting on this, that we keep it private. It does have names on it.
And I just told them we can share this.
I mean, I could
Yeah,
have
and
brought you a
I,
blank one.
Liz, I
but-
absolutely understand where you're coming from regarding the fact that people are already paying a fee to go somewhere. I do like the idea of consistency regarding what we would charge for a ride.
I know what you're saying, and I about the consistency part. But once upon a time when I started here, they used to go to Empire Casino, and they were charging $5. And someone in this room said to me, "Why are you charging them $5 if it doesn't cost anything?" That's what they were. And this person said, "That's silly. That's why we have the bus, so that we can get them to places." So we decided at that time, 15 years, maybe 14 years ago, charge the $2 fee that holds them to it. We're getting something. They're coming. I mean, you could charge whatever you want, but again, I think that some people will delay on signing up for certain things, and then they'll miss out. Because this morning our schedule went out on Friday, and this morning we had about 50 people before 10 o'clock signing up for things. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
right now, so for the record, right now, I'm assuming based on our fee schedule, we're not charging anything for the bus ride when they're on these longer trips.
When they're on the trips, they charge a fee.
The charge
A
fee. So
separate fee.
currently, we're not charging anything for that,
Correct.
correct? So $2 would be an increase over 0
Mm-hmm.
last I checked. So I think this would start to get us to. I mean, it's inconsistent, but it would start to get us at least some funding back on this.
If you can afford a Broadway ticket.
You can
probably
afford a $2
Broadway
fee.
ticket plus $2.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm.
All right. So
But there's also the toll.
Well,
right.
we don't want to make it.
Right,
too-
but
just saying that
you've
was the
got
reason
20
we
people
were-
on the bus, right? $2 times 20, that pays for the toll, pretty much.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Yonkers toll isn't that much. We go to Yonkers like once a month, so we're making money on.
No, it's not. It's also the
Right,
cost
and we're still
of the.
providing this service. All right. I mean, I guess, given this conversation, I understand the viewpoint of the board. I think right now, my personal opinion would be just to keep this as is, see how it works. We can always adjust it in the future if need be. Would this be a fee schedule modification in the future?
Yes. We had drafted one just in case, but yes. You don't have to do it. We can put it on the next meeting.
No, right. We do have a resolution. I mean, I would consider instituting this $2 fee, especially since it has Liz's blessing.
So the other one you're doing for. I'm sorry. Can I ask this question?
Please, Trustee Epstein.
I'm sorry. I'm just. I'm all over the place here because you said you wanted consistency. So the other one we're doing 4, but when they go to the city and other museums and Circle Line, et cetera, we're going to 2.
Right, and I guess
think that
I
is-
understand where Liz is coming from, and trying to
That's
limit
not gonna
because
stop people
because we are
from-
going to have some people who are potentially would drop out.
They're paying
For some of the
100.
lesser ones, not the Broadway shows, but if you're going to a museum that is only charging $6, someone might balk at it. I don't know.
I know it's Rybrook, but I have some seniors that can't even afford lunch. But they want to go on these trips, and they save and they plan and they really want to go, and Sometimes they cancel because they'll say, I couldn't come up with the money. It's heartbreaking, really. So I have mixed emotions about this. I like the idea of consistency as well. But I thought that, it's a step ahead. All across the board, it's an additional $2. You know what I'm saying? It's $2 for the regular trips that don't have a fee, and another $2 that we were never charging for those other trips. I just figured it's a step forward, and then maybe after a year, I can probably track how much I make from that and report back. And, if it's good amount, maybe that will be satisfactory to all. If it's peanuts, then maybe we would, consider changing it in the future.
And it's something that we would change, most likely this would hold. Look, if we don't make a resolution, if we don't decide on this tonight, we're still charging $0 for the bus. If we decide, if we pass this tonight and we decide that we would, we want to look at it for a year, see how it's working out, this would be up during our budget discussions in March. Unless we want other resolution. Trustee Epstein.
So I hear you, and I'm okay with that, but I also thought, quite frankly, Liz, that by charging the extra amount, perhaps that amount of money, since it's in your account, could go towards the next bus that you will need. That was also my thought process, to defray the cost.
The next bus that we will need.
The buses come out of that's
Yeah,
capital spending.
yeah.
So.
Also, I didn't say this earlier, and I want to point this out as well. We do a trip every single Wednesday, so we plan a lot of trips. And I've noticed the prices have gone up a lot everywhere. Everywhere we go. We used to go on trips, they were $15, Broadway shows were $50. And I can't really get mezzanine seating, which I've tried that. I tried a few of those, but most theaters don't have elevators or escalators. I did a whole page there's only like a few that have them. So orchestra seating really is the only way for some of these people to go. I've been with some of that were difficult in the mezzanine, and it was pretty scary. So that's another thing, over time things will change, as our, it's cyclical. We'll get younger seniors and they'll be able to do those stairs and do the mezzanine, and we can do cheaper seats.
Just so you know, they have handicap seats in theaters, so if you ask for them, those are usually the ones.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when you have 10 of those people,
There's no,
it's
then it's
difficult.
harder, of course.
I know, yeah. We do try to do that, but we don't know, when we book the show, we don't know who's coming. We book it and then people sign up, and we do the best that we can,
I'm sure what you do is amazing, and they're very lucky to have you. I've said that.
Thank you. I'll go along with whatever. We'll make it work, Whatever makes sense to the board will be fine.
All right. Well, my personal feeling, again, I don't want to put undue hardship. Right now, we're charging nothing. I'm fine with going to the 2. I don't know where people stand.
I agree.
All right.
So it'll be 4 and 2.
All right. It'll be the $2 for this.
For the trip, long trips.
Yeah. So, Chris, let's move this into resolution.
Okay. Considering a modification to the license and fee schedule, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves modifying the village license and fee schedule, and actually you only need one line, transportation fee when another fee is involved, $2.
All right. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes, and Liz, thank you for everything that you did.
Thank you.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thank you, Liz. I know you put a tremendous amount of thought into this. I'm sure you were weighing it back and forth for days. So.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. Thank you so much for your
Did
support.
you torture Michael with this also?
No.
Just to give you a sense of Liz Rodfeld, she just came here because she just finished another meeting that she was at. She was at another group's meeting before here, right?
This one's so much more exciting.
Don't say that.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're supposed to sweet talk us before we make the decision. All right, resolution number 4, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Violytics Americas, Inc. for road management software.
It's all right. Come on. a tablet wasn't cooperating. Whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enhance its capacity to assess road conditions on village streets, and whereas Rybrook has received a proposal from Violytics Americas Inc. Of Kinnelon, New Jersey, for road management software to improve analyzing village streets for any deficiencies, and whereas the proposal is a 3-year agreement, total cost of $33,780 per year, and whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enter into a proposed agreement with Violytics Americas, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees approves the agreement with Violytics for road management software subject to modification by council. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Michael?
I'll help Mike.
Good evening.
Sure, well, I can start. So the prior program that we were looking at, which was Michelin, the board had previously approved, and the village was all excited to get going. We were just waiting for winter to come on, so then because you need to have you want to have the leaves off, and also we don't want to have not so much the leaves as much as you don't want snow on the ground.
Right.
You got to look at the pavement. It's using AI technology. We had it all set up. We negotiated, had the agreement all finalized, and then they decided not to continue with the software. So Michelin, which is primarily, as we know, a tire company, decided to get out of that area of their business and their company. So we contacted, we found out, well, who's your competitors, and which one is the most liked product. We're not looking for one with every bell and whistle on it. We're looking for one that's affordable. And this was one of the 2 companies that we contacted and had demos with. And it's really exciting. This is actually a much even better product than the Michelin one, where we're able to basically drive the streets. This whole thing can be done in a period of less than a week. We would have an entire system categorized, maintained images in 10-foot segments, where you can go on and the system will load up. You drive the streets, it comes up, it'll load onto the software that we have. Not only now, what's been added to it is you can go and say, okay, not only have the ratings of the roads, which will help us for capital planning, but it will and deciding on different types of products. But what we'll also do is you could say, okay, show us the worst potholes that are in the village. Show us the medium potholes. We can categorize and find everything that we have, and it's not something that unlike Michelin, we could do this anytime. We can, if we pave a street, we can just videotape the street. We'll have the ability to keep updating it as we do things. The other thing it captures is signage. So you could say, okay, it'll actually detect where your faded signs are, for instance. And then we'll go out and we'll verify, and if something has to be replaced, we're able to do it. So it has a lot of resources within the software. It's a really cool, really great tool that we think will be, going from something that's very labor intensive to something that is much more intuitive and can keep being updated to have a much more robust, road management system. What I miss, Michael?
That answers everything in a nutshell.
I have a quick question.
Trustee Molina.
Thank you. Michael, is there cameras they put on a vehicle or something?
This uses a iPhone, so it uses a particular model of iPhone, and the program is basically intuitive and it's AI based. It's very similar to what other companies do with the cameras all around the trucks, but it's not as hardcore to the level of detail that those mobile cameras have. And those are much more intense in the level of detail and what they're doing.
So this is it's not a camera you put on one of the village vehicles. It is.
It is a iPhone that mounts on the front of the dashboard.
Okay.
And it basically reads the road as you're driving down.
You have to drive at a
10-foot
slower
increments.
speed to be able to capture
There's a
it.
speed you have to drive. There's a certain time of day that you have to do it. You don't want any shadows on the road, things of that nature, and it will do basically intervals, and then it'll log everything. It'll rate it
with the phone.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, and the amount of information it gives you, and that you're able to work with
it's able to
is really
visually
helpful.
see that picture.
We'll send you the links to the videos. It's incredible.
Yep. And then on the monitor, you'll get the crumbs, and you could click on which crumb you want on which part of the road. You'll be able to see that the 10-foot
No,
interval.
no, it's a good way.
Right on your desktop, you'll see the
And
condition
the
of that roadway.
program looks at the street and says, okay, there's a crack, there's a pothole, and says, okay,
They'll
we're
tell you
gonna,
whether you have, just show me where the spider cracking is.
Yep,
Show
it'll
me
do
where
the algorithm.
and says, this one you better fix this year, otherwise it's gonna get much worse. And
I'm assuming,
But it's not Ask Siri, but
assuming though it shows up on a map, so
Yeah,
you're able
correct.
to, okay.
great.
it's all map based, and then you could zoom in, and it'll show,
Color
and you
coded.
right down to the images that'll pull up on a particular 10-foot segment.
Trustee Epstein.
You tested this already on a particular road or several roads, or how was it?
We have not done that here. We did have a live demo of other municipalities and their information and their data, which was presented to us. So there are a number of other municipalities that are using this.
That we know.
Correct.
Okay, so it's reliable
Correct.
information.
And before you would go out and kind of like, okay, it looks bad, that doesn't look, right?
Correct.
AI technology is incredible. We had a recent demo at one of our associations for the WMOA group, where in Tuckahoe, the police department is using AI technology for parking enforcement. And they're actually,
Ooh,
because they have multiple train station lots. So literally, it captures the license plates when it's coming in. It'll tell you, you could pull in and you could say, all right, show me all the, 2020 Suburbans, and it'll pull up all the Suburbans in the lot. If you're looking for anything, it'll tell you, which permits are expiring, are expired, which permits are which places that are parking for the day will expire in the next hour, and it'll tell you exactly where to go. It's incredible.
Big Brother's
that was
watching.
They did a video where they're on schools. This is really scary. They were in schools, and they said, show everyone that's held the Starbucks cup in the last hour. And all over the campus, it showed up 40 pictures of kids with Starbucks cups. It's unbelievable. So,
that's scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this has a definitive use for us. But this has a really, it just shows you where the technology is becoming very much available. This is one that we think will do a lot of good for us.
All right. Well, the good news is for any resident at home, we are using this to rate our road conditions. We will not be looking for personal information and whether you're driving with a Starbucks
cups of
cup
coffee
in your hand. Any other questions from the board?
Is the
Trustee
pricing
Epstein.
similar to the Michelin program?
What we would have
It's
gone for before.
it's a little bit more than Michelin, but it does more, but it's a lot less than the other one. Plus, we negotiated 25% off their pricing as a first mover here for Rybrook.
Great. And
This is-
and again, this is not because we're deciding to change what we were going to do. This was because the initial vendor we had selected has gone out of business or stopped acting
Correct.
in this business.
And Mayor, the Michelin product was heavier pricing every third year, but then lighter pricing in the second and third years because you can do regular updates. This is going to allow us to do it. We fill a pothole, we can do an update. We do a pave a road, we can do an update right after. Just redrive the streets and we're done.
Driving the street.
Correct.
That's wonderful. Trustee Crum.
Can if we vote yes, will we start using it effectively immediately, or do we have to wait a certain length of time?
Well, we have to wait until we get the equipment and everything set up, so there'll be a little bit
Right,
of
but
a
it's not like
period.
6 months.
No,
from
no,
now.
no.
And once you get it, a week. Beginning to end.
Great. All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes.
Thank
you. We look forward to seeing the results. Resolution number 5, modifying a prior resolution to advance funds for a consultant to perform engineering services for a potential stormwater drainage modification project in the Brook Lane area.
Whereas on January 14th, 2025, the village accepted a proposal from Rambo Emeritus Engineering Services for the estimated cost of $100,000 to perform engineering services related to a village stormwater drainage modification project in the Brook Lane area. And whereas on January 4th, 2025, the village also authorized that funding for this project be advanced from the 25-26 General Fund Consultant account until those funds are reimbursed in full by the grant received by the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Resilient Investment through Support and Capital Program. Wow. That's a mouthful.
That's why it's called risk.
Yes, risk. And whereas Ramble Engineering is currently working in the Brook Lane area, which will not be completed until fiscal year 25-26, resulting in a need to modify the January 14th, 2024 approved resolution to advance funds to pay the consultant over 2 fiscal years. Now therefore be resolved that the prior resolution is modified as follows. Be it further resolved that funds for this project shall be advanced through appropriation of unassigned fund balance to the general fund consulting service account in both fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26 for the estimated engineering services completed and paid for in each respective fiscal year until those funds are reimbursed in full by the grant received from the RISC program.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Second.
All right, so Chris, it sounds to me like this is not a change in the amount of money, not a change in any funding. It's just a change in making sure that this is appropriated through 2 years instead of the original one.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, I'm also glad to see that this is a New York State grant. So our hope is, unlike some of the other federal grants that we've that are a little dicey these days, this is going to be in place when it comes time to be
Yes,
reimbursed.
and it's well underway.
I wasn't trying to be funny, but is the risk program at risk?
As far as we know, no. And I can tell you that we have regular meetings with them every couple of weeks. So Michael Nowak and I have been meeting with them. You know, I'm not being a crystal ball. We don't believe so.
No, the reason I ask is because I know, as the mayor was alluding to, that the federal government is shutting down programs, which has had a ripple effect on the state in terms of it shutting down programs.
Yeah, this is one that. So what they're doing here, if you're just a refresh on this, this is the relocation of our storm system lines. If it's, I don't think this grant. I wish I could predict all this stuff, but from what we can tell, it's funded. It's currently a project that's well underway, so they'd be stopping a project that's 3/4 of the way in. Not that that's not impossible to do, but I will say this. Either way, this is a project the village should be proceeding with. It's not really just the grant. This is the relocation of the storm system across Westchester Avenue and into to divert it away from the brook.
Right, I remember seeing the diagrams of what the possibilities were,
Correct.
and it's certainly something that will have a positive effect on certain properties in there, and hopefully help alleviate some of the
Downstream.
obviously, the brook is still coming down through that, through where it runs currently.
Yes.
And so but this will help alleviate some of the other flooding once the project's done. Again, this is just the engineering and the study of it.
Which you have to monitor the flow and making sure it has the capacity on the other side of the street. This is the detailed engineering for it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Greg.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering awarding contract number 2025-03, Village Street Trees Pruning and Associated Work.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook has solicited bids for contract 25-03, village tree removal, pruning, and associated work, which includes pruning, removal, and individual stump grinding. And whereas the bid for contract 25-03 was advertised in the Journal News as the official newspaper on May 5th, 2025, and was also made available on the Empire State Purchasing Group bid system. And whereas at 10 a.m. on May 20th, all bids were opened and some are summarized below in the resolution. We received a total of 5 bids. We received a total of 4 bids: Central Tree Service, Save a Tree, New England Property Maintenance, and Olmsted. And now therefore be resolved that following the review of the bids by the village administrator and engineer, the Board of Trustees has determined that the lowest bidder meeting the requirements is Olmsted Tree, Shrub, and Lawn Company of New Rochelle, New York, for the base bid amount of $147,885 with alternates A and B. And be it further resolved that the contract can be renewed annually for a period of up to 5 years. And be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we've been working with this company in the past, correct?
We, yeah, for 5 years now. But and when you hear the pricing, just realize that's over a 5-year period.
Right, no, that's not a single year. And it's certainly something important. We want to make sure that, we have the ability to maintain the trees that are our responsibility. So,
Trees are expensive.
yes, they are. Any questions or comments from the board?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser? Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 7, considering a donation to the Village of Portchester for the 2025 Independence Day celebration and fireworks.
Whereas the Village of Portchester will host the 2025 Independence Day celebration on July 4th, and whereas Rybrook Village Board would like to continue to assist with the event, now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rybrook will pay $5,000 or $6,000 to be discussed to the Village of Portchester for 2025 Independence Day celebration.
Thank you, Chris. I guess we're going to hold off on the motion.
Mhm.
Let's have the discussion first. Now, I remember when Hope used to come here and sing to us when asking for these funds. And, I kind of miss that, because it was the whole,
she
the
used to
red,
be-
white, and blue. And, this close to Memorial
Hope.
Day, I feel like this
It was
was
Hope.
very appropriate. But, it's been a long time since she's done that. My personal opinion on this is that I'm happy to support this. I think a lot of Rybrook residents go to the firework display. The only question I would have is, whether we know whether they're getting other sponsors. A lot of times they get corporate sponsors within the Village of Portchester. But any questions or comments? I mean, they're asking for an increase. In the past, we've paid $5,000. They're asking for an increase of $6,000. I'm personally okay with that, but I'm opening this up to the discussion among the board.
Mayor, just
Increase to
Oh,
6,000.
Chris, yeah, please.
want to give a point of
Yes,
clarification.
Not an increase of.
Yes.
Thank you.
Point of clarification for everyone. I just want to make sure you know. I did call and ask what the reason was for the increase.
Okay.
Are you doing more fireworks? We're doing drones this year, or what are we doing? And the answer was it was because they're more expensive this year. That was the answer. I
Right,
got.
and it does make sense. One of the nice things about the Portchester firework display is that it's done on July 4th. A lot of other displays to keep costs a little bit lower is on July 3rd. This is nice. It's on July 4th by a very famous company. I'm assuming they're sticking with that same company. But it's always, to me, I always think it's one of the better firework displays around. I've been to some in other municipalities, and this to me always is the best one. Unfortunately, I am going to be unable to make it this year. I always go. I go every single year. I will be missing it this year simply because I'm going to be at a wedding. But
The nerve of this.
I will be in the Cradle of Freedom, Philadelphia, on July 4th.
oh, there you go. So I guess like I said, I'm fine raising this to the amount of $6,000, and I welcome comments from the board.
No problem.
Trustee Crum.
This isn't really factual, but I read online that they're paying a lot for this.
Oh, yeah.
This is like something like 10%, I think, of the total cost. I don't know for.
Probably less. Than
Probably less.
Yeah. Okay. So
significantly.
Yeah,
less.
I'm fine with the 6 for sure. Yeah.
It's a wonderful celebration, and I know that a lot of Rybrook residents take advantage of it, and I think that it's a good use of our funds, and I look forward to representing us.
Great.
If you'll go
I
along
think
with
Trustee
Sam,
Epstein
we
just
shouldn't even
said
have to
she's
vote on
going.
it.
Trustee Molino.
Well, I'll definitely be there, and it's well worth the expense.
All right. So can I have a motion second, please, to approve the amount of $6,000 for the donation?
So moved.
Second?
Yep, it was that one.
I assumed it was my hearing aids.
Really, I really have a hearing loss. I heard nothing. Scary. Yeah.
All right. What are we up there? Capital fund.
Wow.
All right.
Let's rise again. All right, Trustee Epstein.
Yes.
Trustee Heiser.
Yes.
Trustee Crom.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. And we look forward to the fireworks display. I think this is a great community event and a great partnership between the Village of Portchester and Village of Rybrook. And again, I know a lot of our residents attend that. So, thank you for the planning committee that puts that together. All right, resolution number 8, considering reallocation of capital project funds and a close of capital project.
Okay, be it resolved that following transfers between capital projects be approved for fiscal year 24-25. There's a transfer from one capital project for police vehicles to another, to the updated one for police vehicles in the amount of $690.12. And the same thing as another one from police vehicles to a capital project for the police vehicle tablet replacement in the total amount of $664.52. And be it further resolved that the following capital project with zero fund balance be closed and removed from the capital project length schedule, and that's the staffing for the vehicle, the electric vehicle that we have as our pool car. Let's just
Thank-
close on that project.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And again, thank you to Trish and all of the staff that keep us honest here and keep the books
Keep the books
in proper order.
in proper order.
Oh. All right, any questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering approval of the minutes for the meetings held on March 25th and April 8th, 2025.
Okay, now therefore be resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for March 25th and April 8th, 2025.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Oh, sorry. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, administrators report.
Okay, just two quick items, and they're both event related. So we have an ice cream event, the donation due to the donation of the Ballywick Club. That's this Friday, May 30th, at Pine Ridge Park from 6 to 7:30. That's an earlier than we usually do those types of events, but the Ballywick Club wanted to do something for the community, make a donation. They'll also be present at the event, and it's a nice thing for the community, have a little early ice cream before the summer kicks in. And the other item is just for next month, which is the Rybrook birthdays coming up. That's Saturday, June 14th from 12 to 4. And a reminder that's going to be at the King Street Athletic Fields in Rybrook, which is where we were last year. Everybody liked it. The board is supportive of keeping it at that location. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, the next meeting's. Sorry? Yes, go ahead.
6:30, right, ice cream?
I'll be brief. I just really want to give a big thank you to our highway staff. I know you're performing here. Particularly this month of May, they've really helped us out a lot, particularly me as well. Particularly May 10th, they helped out also our senior center, who's office coordinator, Liz Rotfeld, and as well as they helped out with the Eagle Scout project, which their union contributed to, which represents our highway park staff and now our office staff. And then most importantly, to especially note to Administrator Bradbury, EMS week. It was EMS week and Public Works week last week. They are the ones who served the food for the EMS staff that were working in that shift on last Friday. It was a coordinated effort with the town of Rye, the village of Portchester, and the city of Rye, which was a nice partnership to have. But I really just want to give them a huge shout out and a big thanks for all the help they gave us for all those events.
Thank
nice.
you, Greg. And of course, they were at the Fit Walk also, which was.
Yes, they were.
That's
We
right.
were very happy to have them there.
That's all.
All right. All right. Well, the next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be June 10th and June 24th, 2025. Thank you and have a good night.
Or just,
Leave that around.
Okay.